The Amazing Adventures of Superman and this cheesecake cover. It certainly is an eye-catcher for people of culture. It's been homaged a few times, although once was by the same artist. Does that count? This is a Neil Adams and Dick Giordano cover from 1971. I was intrigued. I wanted to know more about the mystery woman who captured Superman's heart and soul. It didn't go where I was expecting. I'm Sasha, this is Casually Comics, and it's time to go back to my favorite thing. Deep diving into classic or older comics. It's not Lois Lane getting married, but it is uncomfortable romance. Dare I say, questionable. The starry-eyed siren of space. Very B-movie and sci-fi title. It's written by Cary Bates with art by Kurt Swan, inks Murphy Anderson. You may have heard that slight increase in pitch at Cary Bates. That was excitement. He's been featured a decent amount on this channel, and I'm excited because when he writes romance, things tend to go off the rails really quick. He did the 1970s Supergirl series, where she was just dating different people throughout most of it, and oh, what a treat that was. So this is going to be a casual comic catch-up, and let's take a look at the first story in this issue, Superman 243. Our story opens on Clark, and he's just trying to get back to Earth, and he's very much in a downer headspace.
Earth wouldn't need a Superman if it weren't for the troublemakers among the human race. I'd gladly give up my powers if, odd, feeling an unusual amount of heat.
Suddenly, a supernova, knocking Superman off course. Superman manages to right himself, but he's suddenly compelled towards a planet, nay, beneath the surface of said planet, to what is said to be its core. And he's heading towards a sci-fi classic, the pinnacle of evolution, a brain in a jar, or some kind of casing. The brain is named Kond, and he needs Superman's help. He's also scanned Superman's mind and knows everything about him. Boundaries. Superman's pretty chill at having his mind invaded. I mean, it happens so often. Now, Kond Brain had a mate brain named Raja. Raja and I are the pinnacle of a billion-year evolution, a state of pure intellect with the most fantastic mental power in the universe. And being at the pinnacle of evolution, Raja could not wait to get herself a physical body. That was the first thing on her mind. She senses that there are aliens on board a ship flying by and decides, wouldn't it be fun if they took on some physical bodies? She wants excitement. Why can't Kond be exciting? Basically, Kond and Raja are having relationship drama, and it's playing out through this sci-fi plot. So Raja decides she's gonna pattern the body off of the female member on the ship and then goes off. If Kond wants to hang out with her, well, he knows where she is, living it up in her physical body. Kond is not for this. He is concerned with a physical body you can get sick or hurt. Also, there's suddenly a time limit. If you stay in the physical body for 4 hours, you're stuck there for the rest of your now mortal life. Proto-Animorph rules. Now you may be wondering, doesn't Superman have anything more important to do? You know, something more pressing than intergalactic relationship drama? Well, the answer is yes, probably, but he's gonna do this anyway. Kond promises him a reward to end all suffering on Earth, but he says he'll do it even without that.
That's what being Superman is all about.
Your girl thinks you're boring? This looks like a job for Superman. Raja, who does not look like the figure on the cover, we were tricked. Her Hydra outfit has been replaced by this orange getup, and to the storyteller's credit, she is literally starry-eyed. That glow will be explained later, but first Superman has to save her from this dinosaur skeleton thing, which proves to be more difficult than anticipated, which is worked into the story later, but for now he's just confused. Why is this so hard? He has to throw the thing into space.
Moons of Krypton! I didn't get a good look at Raja until now. I recognize the female species she has patterned herself after. She's become an ancient, legendary female, a starry-eyed siren of space. This means she could enslave me.
Oh, a male. You're the first man I've ever looked upon face to face, and I must confess, I like what I see.
So starry-eyed sirens are like sirens of myth, irresistible to men, and Superman can't gouge his eyes out. He'll need those later. Now Superman knows that he's being pulled into her thrall, but he can't really do anything about it, and so enters the horror portion of our story. It makes this whole issue so uncomfortable because it's not like his thoughts change, which would still be uncomfortable. But this is even more so because we get to see him struggling the entire time, wishing it wasn't happening. It's not appealing. It's just basically watching Superman get assaulted.
Can't resist her.
Kissing, stars, even though her eyes are closed, kissing. Now Kond doesn't know any of this, so as he's looking this happening with his mental powers spying on the surface, he just assumes that Superman has gone full Mr. Steal Your Girl, and he experiences a feeling for the first time. Jealousy. And it was at that moment I was able to identify which Star Trek, the original series episode, this was reminding me of, because the entire time I was like, there was an episode like this, which one was it? And I didn't want to look it up, I was waiting for it to come back to me, and it did. This was Return to Tomorrow. This was from the second season where the telepathic aliens come and they take control of Kirk, Spock, and the female of the week, who is the actress who would then go on to play in Is There in Truth No Beauty episode, who would also become Dr. Pulaski in The Next Generation. It's all coming back. It's coming together. They wanted android bodies, but how the crew had to deal with this was ultimately they had to pull some of them playing with them having to deal with human emotions, and jealousy was one of them. This story is copying that episode's homework and changing it just a little bit. Because Khan leaves his casing and takes on a male body, but the only one he's seen is Superman, so he just copies that. And he goes to fight Superman with his telepathic powers, saying that he's going to kill him. But Raja was trying to contact Khan in his little box to say that she was leaving with Superman. Now he's not there, so she calls to Superman, who is now conned, but she doesn't know that yet. Superman's dying on the ground for a little bit. And instead revealed that this was all feminine mind games. She never loved Superman. She wanted to make Khan jealous.
I should have known. He'd be mine, or else I wasn't really going to leave this planet with you, Superman. All that talk was just for Khan's benefit. I hoped it would make him man enough to come after me, but instead, I lost him. Oh, I wish I were dead.
I think Khan and Raja have some real relationship issues to talk through, but we don't have time for that because a monster attacks. It turns out the monsters on the planet are manifestations of Raja's feelings, and since she said she wished she was dead, well, they're coming to kill her. Why is that not happening for Khan? Well, because look, up in the sky, on the ground, it's Superman. He's managed to free himself a little bit because Khan is distracted trying to fight these other monsters, so his mental powers are divided. Superman tricks Raja into thinking she's dying by sucking the oxygen out from around her, and by that I mean he does actually kill her because his plan is to bring her back to life, but Khan does that. You see, it's code approved because she was only dead for a couple seconds. He was gonna fix it. Just like how they faked Spock's death at the end of Return to Tomorrow. I see you, 1970s Carrie Bates. I too like Star Trek. A kindred spirit. So Khan and Raja's toxic relationship is saved, and Khan says he's sorry about trying to kill Superman. He didn't realize he was being forced to be with her without his consent.
Forget it, but I must move on now and return to Earth.
And yes, he does get a reward. It's 4 potions, and they're going to deal with the problems of the Earth, and they are as follows, according to 1971. Disease, pollution, crime, and starvation. He'll take it. But of course he can't use them because then his adventures would be over, and so the story reveals its twist. Yes, this is a twist episode. When Superman flies back to the Earth, all the continents are in the wrong position because actually that supernova blasted him back in time. So he has to fly forward, and by the time he gets there, the potions are useless. It's a tragedy. The end. The editor also asked people if they wanted to hear more about Khan and Raja, like what happened to them, and I guess people didn't because we don't see them again. But I did find some letters talking about the story, and I picked a couple of my favorites. Dramatic reading time. The first from someone who didn't like it. Dear editor, well, Superman 243 was fairly boring, but you get 10 brownie points for the cover. Incredible. What can the world be coming to if we see Soupy making out with a very sexy broad on the cover? Keep it up, guys. It becomes him. And you. But alas, one cover does not an issue make. Alien brains who've forgotten how beautiful life can be when seen through mortal eyes? Ho hum. So what else is new? A little more background would have been appreciated. Were Khan and Raja the whole race, or just the sole survivors of some unrevealed catastrophe? Why did those little pyramids float? And with all those fantastic powers, you'd think they might have been able to fashion some sort of android bodies for themselves. Then they'd be immortal and have some substance. After all, it must get pretty boring hanging out in a pyramid all day. Spiritual love is fine as far as it goes, but of course something had to happen to the potions. 4 bottles to solve Earth's problems? Forget it. Besides, Superman would never be content to settle down as Clark Kent. Oh, he may think he'd like to, but he'd get restless soon enough. Something inside him thrives on the excitement and glory and good conscience that come with being a superhero, and he'd never give it up. He'd be unable to. Anyhow, who'd want to read a comic called Clark Kent Newscaster? Not I, gentlemen, not I. No, I want to read Clark Kent Newscaster. I love these letters. I love reading them. I'm not even gonna bother discussing the Krypton feature. If Gary Skinner thinks it's so great, let him ramble. I dismiss it as another filler story to make it look like we're getting more for our money. Susan Bregman. And then the editor sasses her back. Well, aren't you? Perhaps you aren't enthralled by the world of Krypton, but you should see the letters that come in protesting when we leave it out, which proves that you can't please everybody, but we'll go on trying anyway.
The fandom's the same. We're the same, you and I.
Now I'm gonna read one that had odd vibes. At least they came across to me. It's probably because of my modern conditioning and I'm used to all the weird things on the internet, but here it goes. Dear editor, here I go at my 3rd try to get a letter published. The Starry-Eyed Siren of Space is one of the best stories this year. The plot was original and the art great. I have one question though. Now that Raja has a physical body, can she give birth? And what would the child be? A starry-eyed super baby?
What do you want to know, Rick? I'm sorry, just the whole can she have a baby now? I've just been online too long. It read fetish vibes to me. It probably was not. This is probably someone younger asking a genuine question. I've just been ruined.
Now there were some that liked it, but I can't read every single letter. Some said they felt that it really illustrated Superman's dilemma. So you had a range of opinions, but in none of the letters were people saying, I need to see Khan and Raja again, right now, next issue. Most of the positive comments were either about the cover or talked about the cover at some point. It stood out and stayed in people's minds. That cover knows what it's doing. Also, Jonah Hex would copy it for Jonah Hex 91 from 1985, this time by Ed Hannigan and Mark Texeira. And Adams would copy himself with a variant cover for Wonder Woman 49 in 2016, only the body of Wonder Woman is twisted the other way. When I posted this cover, some people wanted to know if it was Lois, they just assumed it would be, or they assumed that the woman would have double L initials. She didn't, that's why it wasn't meant to be. And others were not impressed by the bootay. To which I say, it was 1971. Firstly, different frames were popular, and also the code was still in effect. And if you remember from when we read it, there was a specific rule saying that female bodies could not be out of proportion. They couldn't have an exaggerated feature. That means you can only have cake and not the whole bakery. I really like this cover though. It's very stark. The color play is interesting. It works. It's eye-catching. I like it. The story inside though is fairly run-of-the-mill and heavily inspired by either other sci-fi tropes or actual stories that had happened just a few years prior. That episode was from 1968. Now there is some melodrama in the story that Bates is known for, and there is some tragedy of Superman having to continue on in the face of suffering, but it's not the most memorable story. It's not bad or anything, it's just fairly average, and in the giant scope of stories from this era later and beyond, not the most standout. But those are just my thoughts, and I want to hear yours. When I posted this cover, I saw some people say that it was either their first or one of their first comics, so I want to know, what do you think? Do you feel like it holds up? Do you think it had a lot more depth? Because when you come to comics, can also really alter your perception of how you view them. Do you feel that it has hidden depths that I'm not mining? I want to hear it all. Like it, hate it, meh, love the cover, hate the cover, tacky, have no strong feelings one way or the other. Share your thoughts down below. While you're down there, please do all the YouTube things. Like, share, comment, subscribe, and hit the notification so that you never miss a vid. Thanks so much for taking some time discussing comics with me. I always appreciate it. I will see you again soon. Bye-bye. You couldn't even see Goku. I feel like I have to sit up because you couldn't even see the Goku shirt. Bye-bye.